Hello and welcome to the Beard Talks Metal. On this episode I'm going to try something a little bit different. Obviously I buy a lot of records and CDs, and I buy a lot of older catalogue albums as well. So I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of give you a review of some of the albums that I pick up, and give you a bit of background to the record and why I wanted to add it to my collection. So the first one I'm going to go through is Line Assembly's Millennium. So this was released in 1994, I think. And I first came across them probably around about that time, because the video for the track Millennium itself on the record used to play on Headbangers Ball a lot, and 120 minutes and things like that. So the first thing you'll notice is, or you may not notice, but the artwork itself is by a guy called Dave McKean. Now, if you listen to metal for at least the last 20-25 years, you will definitely have seen Dave McKean's work. He's the artist on Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, and during the 90s and probably going up to the 2000s as well, he produced a lot of seminal pieces. Fear Factory's Demanufacture is one of them. Machine Head's Burn My Eyes, and essentially he was almost synonymous with that kind of Roadrunner Records metal kind of era in the 90s. Great artist, and essentially was always a seal of quality. That, and with the Roadrunner Records label itself, was a seal of quality of just how good a record would be. So Line Assembly are kind of an electronic industrial band. They have certainly on the Millennium and one of their other albums, Hardwired, they did go through a bit of a kind of a metal influence period, which is why I kind of got into the band. So Reese Fulber, who plays on this record, is essentially the fifth member of Fear Factory. He's done all of the programming and electronics that you've heard over the years. He also had he was the main remixer on Fear Factory's Fear is a Mind Killer, and he's done an incredible remixes of Death Church and old back from Burn My Eyes era Machine Head. This is a great EP, by the way. Definitely one to add to your collection if you're into early Machine Head, because those two remixes are just absolutely crushing. I've loved them all this time. So yeah, something to look out for those ones. So the final metal credential or metal connection to it on the Line Assembly record is the fact that Devin Townsend played on 3 tracks on here. Played guitar, which is Vigilante, Division of Mind, and Sex Offender. And what I always found really weird about this album is the entire album is peppered with samples of Pantera and Sepultura and Metallica tracks, and essentially those samples weave through the tracks and kind of build that kind of metal bass. So Line Assembly were one of those bands that always got played at your local rock nights as well. There's a track on here called Sex Offender, believe it or not, and that was one that I seem to record I used to play at the local rock nights. They were kind of one of those bands that hit kind of a crossover between the industrial and the goth scene and the metal scene. So you know, where they'd be playing Millennium at the rock nights, you'd always get all the headbangers down there headbanging to the metal guitars in that, and then they'd play maybe some of the more kind of electronic and industrial type songs, and you'd always get the girls in their leather goth pants riding around to it. So yeah, so yeah, it's a great record. I absolutely love it. It's heavy. You know, the metal guitars really do make it a heavy record. And if you're into electronica, like, full stop, they really do have great soundscapes on this. It's part of that ilk, of that kind of what I call 90s futuristic. You know, it's very kind of influenced, I suppose, by, you know, the likes of RoboCop and Terminator and Alien and things like that. And I don't think it sounds dated. Some people might, I guess, if you're coming to it brand new, I suppose. But yeah, I love it. It's a really good introduction to kind of early Devin Townsend as well, because I think this was released certainly a couple of months before Devi came out with Strapping Young Lads, Heavy is a Really Heavy Thing. I got into Frontline Assembly after that record was out and after Fear Factory and things like that, purely because of those connections, as well as seeing Millennium, the video on Headbangers Ball. So yeah, so it's got lots of different kind of movie samples and stuff like that, which I think is another thing I've noticed bands don't really do these days. Is one, they don't do remixes. Two, they don't use samples anymore. And industrial, to me, industrial metal as a genre just seems to have completely disappeared and fallen off the radar. You know, I'm a big industrial fan. I love Ministry, I love Nine Inch Nails, you know, I love Frontline Assembly. And yeah, it just seems to have fallen off the radar. I know there's bands out there that do kind of industrial kind of music, but thinking about the more kind of industrial metal side of things, there's Uniform, which just released a record this year, which I need to get hold of and listen to. And then you get bands like Author and Punisher, and you know, things like that, which are more that kind of grinding kind of metal percussion based industrial. But I just want industrial metal back. So ultimately, if anybody's got any recommendations of industrial metal that I should check out, new bands obviously, then pop that in the comments below. So yeah, it's a great record. If you're interested in that kind of thing, if you're a fan of like Decrups and Skinny Puppy and Ministry and Nine Inch Nails and Rammstein, I suppose to a certain extent, then yeah, you're going to enjoy it. And you know, it is heavy. It's a heavy record. It's got, as I say, it's got Pantera samples in there. It's got Sepultura. It's got Metallica samples. It's got Devi on guitars. So you know, can't go wrong really. Dave McKean artwork, which I always love. So yeah, so that's Frontline Assembly's Millennium. I'm just going to be picking random albums out of my collection over the time and just do a little review of it. So if there's anything that you want to have reviewed, then let me know. And if it's in my collection, then I'll review it. So just to let you know, I'm still working on my heaviest tracks in my collection video. It's taken me a little bit longer to do, but I'm having great fun researching it and basically listening to the tracks. So yeah, so thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for the comments as always. Thanks for any subscribers, any new subscribers, and all subscribers, of course. I'm going to be doing a little competition, a little subscriber competition for my heaviest tracks in my collection video. So if you're interested in that, watch the next video. I'll give you details of the competition. I think it'd be a nice little thing to do just to get everything going. So thanks all, and I'll catch you again soon. Thanks.